The applications are tools of demand and supply. Here we are going to discuss on two topics, price ceiling and price floor. Let us understand what is price ceiling. Now, as we all know, government plays an important role in controlling the prices of essential commodities like wheat, sugar, bajra, kerosene, etc., which come under the daily necessities of our life. Now, when the equilibrium price is determined by free play of demand and supply, that is, the market forces of demand and supply, it becomes too high for the poor people. The price becomes too high for the poor people that these basic necessities or essential commodities they are not able to purchase. Hence, price ceiling refers to the fixing the maximum price of a commodity at a level lower than equilibrium price. Price ceiling or maximum price ceiling refers to imposition of upper limit on the price of a good by the government. Why is it needed? Why price ceiling is needed? It is it is generally said that it is imposed on essential items and is fixed below, the price is fixed below the equilibrium price or market determined price. Why market determined price? They tend to shift it at a lower position so that the poor people are able to buy those products. The reason for price ceiling is that equilibrium is too high for the common people to afford. So if you see this particular graph over here, children, they have explained it through the graph like suppose the equilibrium price of OP is very high. Okay, suppose we let us talk about Bajra. All right, it is fixed at a price of OP. Now, suppose the equilibrium price of OP is very high. This price OP is very high and many poor people are not able to afford the product at this price. What will happen? As a result, when the government will see that maximum of the population is not able to afford, it will interfere. Now, as a result, when the government interferes and fixes the maximum price, this maximum price, that is the price ceiling at OP1, the government, this is the decision of the government that the price will be reduced to OP1, which is less than the equilibrium price of OP. Okay, why does the government do so? Because the government sets a price, that is a price ceiling. That means the poor people they are only able to afford till P1. P1 becomes the ceiling. Above the curve P1 or above the point of P1, these people, poor people, are not able to afford their products. Therefore, the government sets a price ceiling. That means, as we know, what is the ceiling? The roof of our buildings. That means if you try to reach above your roof or above your ceiling, it is practically impossible, right? Similarly, the government sets a price ceiling that at this particular price only the poor people will be able to afford. Therefore, the government interferes in the market and tries to bring down the price, which is determined by the producers of the economy. At this controlled price OP1, children, we see that the producers are willing to supply only the products from here. That is P1 to A. Okay. P1 to A. They are only able to they are ready to supply from P1 to A, or you can say O to Q1. This much particular they are able to supply. While consumers demand is P1B. The consumer is demanding how much? It is demanding P1B. The demand from the consumers is P1B. They need this much of total product, but the producers are willing to supply only this much at this OP1 price. So the effect of ceiling is that shortage that is equal to AB. That means this much is the shortage. So shortage. That means this much is more required to fulfill the demands of the poor people. This demand P1B is the demand of the poor people. But since the government interferes and the government tries to bring down the particular price, so what will happen? The producers and the sellers, they then create a trouble or a problem that if the government is interfering and bringing out down a price, because if the government is bringing down the price, then what will happen? Naturally, they will not be able to earn the profit. So in this case, the supply people or the people who are supplying, the producers, they cut short the supply. So therefore this becomes a shortage. Now only limited amount of poor people are able to get this much of product. What about the rest of the demand? They are not being fulfilled. Therefore this leads to black marketing. Why black marketing? Because the government is trying to feed the poor people at the maximum level, but the producers are thinking of their profit. So when the government tries to bring down the price, they cut short of the supply in the economy, and this leads to black marketing in the economy. Now, what happens when we see black marketing? It is, why is it said as to be the direct consequence of price ceiling? We know black marketing is any market in which the commodities are sold at a price higher than the maximum price fixed by the government. Suppose if I'm talking about that bajra is to be sold at 1 kg, the price is determined at rupees 20 by the government. This is given by the government. Now the producers are not ready to sell at this price because they want more profit. So what will happen? Emergence of the black market. So in this particular case, what will happen? When there will be shortage in supply, people will tend to try to get that particular product more and more from anywhere possible they can find. So in black marketing, what happens? This rupees 20 can go to rupees 100, or it increases to rupees 150, but people buy it because this is one of the essential commodities that they need. Okay, so what happens? Black marketing may be termed as a direct consequence or implication of price ceiling, as it implies a situation where the commodity under the government's control policy is illegally sold at a price higher than the one fixed by the government. So when the producers increase the price and they sell it to supply those to those people who need it the most, but they are supplying it at a higher rate, that means they are going against the government price that that the government has set. Therefore it becomes illegal, the price becomes illegal, and therefore it is known as black marketing, because the money that the people or the consumers are paying at the higher rate that the consumer is paying, it is known as black marketing. It may primarily arise due to the presence of consumers who may be willing to pay higher price for the commodity than to go without it. Suppose there is shortage of food in one of the states. Suppose, yeah, if I say there is in West Bengal, if you see, okay, suppose in West Bengal there's a huge a flood has come, and the staple food in West Bengal, we all know it is rice. Okay, since there's flood in the market, flood in that particular state, and no particular staple food is available, but there will be few shops who must have kept rice or bajra or wheat safely. And what happens in this particular situation? They see that they can earn the profit. Why? Because people in such a state, they are hungry, they need food to survive, so they will be willing to pay a higher rate than what the government has been asked for. So therefore, in this particular situation, both the seller and the consumer together they form the black market. Is that clear, children? Next, let us see about the rationing system. What happens in the rationing system? To meet the excess demand, government may also enforce the rationing system. We all know the people who are below poverty line, they all have their ration cards where the basic staple food is fixed at a price, and the people who fall under the category of below this particular line, they are able to purchase these these commodities which are the essential or the basic necessities of their life. So rationing is a technique adopted by the government to sell a minimum quota of essential commodities at a price less than equilibrium price to supply goods to the poor community at a cheaper price. That means if in the market the price is rupees 20, okay, but the people who are below poverty line, for them the government can also reduce it to rupees 10. This is known as rationing, where the government buys all the products and keeps under it, and the government tries to supply these the purchased goods, the purchased wheat, jowar, bajra, rice, anything the government purchases, try to sell it at a lower rate to meet the minimum quota of essential commodities. Minimum quota means, that means for a particular person how much of food is required a particular day how much of calorie is required. Accordingly, the government sets the price. Under the system, the consumers are given ration cards or coupons to buy commodities at a cheaper price from ration shops. Difficulty in obtaining goods from ration shops. Consumers have to stand in long queues to buy the goods from the ration shops. Sometimes the commodities are not available in the ration shops or goods are of inferior quality. So this is one of the drawback you can say of the government, that India being a democratic country, there are the second most populated country in the whole world, and maximum of the people are in poverty. Okay, so in this case, what happens? The quality is also not good, and as well, in few of the ration shops, rations are not available for the consumers. So over here, this is one of the drawback you can see of the rationing system. Otherwise, the plan is very good. The government is actually thinking that yes, these poor people, if not the price is not lowered or if the price is not lessened, they will die because of hunger. Next, we come to price floor or MSP, that is minimum support price. That is, now we have seen the price ceiling that the government sets for the poor people to purchase the products. Government in price floor or minimum support price, government also intervenes in the process of price determination through price floor. It refers to the minimum, it refers to the minimum price above the equilibrium price fixed by the government, which the producers must be paid for their produce. Price floor or minimum price ceiling refers to imposition of lower limit on the price that may be charged for a particular good or service. For example, when the government feels that the fixed price by the forces of demand and supply is not remunerative from the producer's point of view, then it fixes a price known as price floor, which is more than the equilibrium price. That means these producers are very clever. They try to earn their profit only. Okay, so what happens in this particular case when the government sees that whatever they are producing, it is of higher quality. If that means higher produce is there, more profit the producer is getting, but it is paying very less to the government. Okay, so less to the government means that whatever there's a certain policy that this much particular tax they have to pay. Okay, but the tax that they pay, children, the government, it gives, it supplies for the people only. That money is used, or this that money is, that money is used in such a situation where it is welfare of the society. So here the price, it the government interferes and it sets a minimum price that the producers have to pay for their produce. Now, why it is the need of the price floor? Let us understand with this particular graph. We know that most well-known examples of imposition of price floor are agricultural price support programs and minimum wage legislation. These two are the most, you can say, the important thing in the economy when we talk about poor people, as well as in the news also. It is one of the hot topics that what is the government doing for the people who are there in agriculture, or the people who are, laborers, and they don't have their basic earning to live a life. So in this case, the government interferes and tries to set with the producers in the economy. Indian government maintains a variety of price support programs for various agricultural producers like wheat, sugarcane, etc. And the floor is normally set at a higher level than the market determined price for these goods. If you see this particular graph, suppose to protect the producer's interest and to provide incentive for further production, government declares this OP1, government declares OP1 as the minimum price, which is more than the equilibrium price of OP. If you see the equilibrium price of OP, this is the equilibrium point, but point E, but the government tries to set it at a higher level. At this support price, OP1, the producers are willing to supply this much of product, that is P1B. The producers are willing to supply this much, okay, while the consumer are demanding only P1 to A. From P1 to A only is the demand, but the suppliers are supplying how much? From P1 to B. So this particular surplus, that is, you can see, is created here. This is the surplus that is being created over here, which is equivalent to, you can say, Q1 to Q2. Okay, so the excess supply may be purchased by the government either to increase its buffer stocks or for exports. So again, you see, in the first case we have seen when we were discussing about price ceiling that there was shortage. Now there is surplus. So in both the ways what happens, the government interferes, and when there is surplus of the produce, the government tries to purchase it and sell it as the export, or it keeps as its stock. Now what are the implications of price floor? If you will see over here, price floor is normally set at a higher level than the equilibrium price. This leads to excess supply. Since producers are not able to sell all they want to sell, they illegally sell the good or service below the minimum price. Buffer stock acts as a tool for price floor. Buffer stock is an important tool in the hands of government to ensure price floor. When market price is lower than what the government feels should be given to the farmers or producers, it purchases the commodity at a higher price from the farmers or producers so as to maintain stock of the commodity with itself to be released in case of shortage in the commodity in future. So what happens? These market forces, that is the producers, they try to earn their profit, and because of these privatization and agriculture children, the people who are, I'm taking an example, the people who are employed in agriculture sector. Okay, now these agriculture sector, what do the wholesalers or the producers do? These wholesalers or the shopkeepers, they buy the agricultural produce. Suppose wheat is to be bought by a particular shopkeeper, so he will buy it at a very lower rate, okay, say rupees 10, but actually the rate is set by the government at rupees 20, so that these poor people who are employed in agriculture are able to earn little bit of profit. But these producers or the market forces of supply are only there to earn the profit. So therefore in this case the government interferes and it sets a price that at this particular price the demand, at this particular price the commodity should be sold. Like example, the wheat should be sold at rupees 20 kg per kg or rupees 30 per kg, so that the people who are employed in agriculture sector, they do not suffer. But what happens? Does this particular program of government is successful? Not at all, because the producers over here, they, when they are not able to sell all they want, they illegally sell the good or service below the minimum price. Suppose a farmer is there, A, and the government has set price rupees 20. Now no shopkeeper is buying from this poor farmer. So naturally he has to bring down the price at rupees 10. Then only he will get customers to buy from. That the customers who will purchase from this poor farmer. So this is known as price flow. Thank you so much, children. We end our topic here.